The Graveyard of Empires, a title given to the state, the country, the nation of Afghanistan. But ever wondered why? Why the title, the name, a very, dangerous looking name, the Graveyard of Empires. From the mighty British to the US to USSR, they have all failed terribly when it comes to the terrain of Afghanistan. Why so? So today in this session, guys, that is on the StudyIQ Global, you are on the channel StudyIQ IAS English. My name is Praveen Mishra. So today in this session, we are going to discuss in depth, in detail, why this country, that is Afghanistan, is known as the Graveyard of Empire. So as you can see, from Alexander to US to British, they tried their bloody best to impose their rule, their permanent rule in Afghanistan, but they all failed. So as you can see, this part here, what it is basically referring, whenever a country tried or another kingdom tried, so they had to face much of the issues, including mountains, the politics, as well as the resilient people. Okay, so from Alexander to US to British, mighty empires marched into Afghanistan with dreams of conquest and domination. But one by one, each power found itself trapped in what? Mountains, politics, as well as the resilient people, earning the tag, the Graveyard of Empires. So let's go ahead with all the basic understanding. The first thing, the very difficult topography, the very difficult terrain, that is basically geography, that comes to be the natural fort or fortress to this soil, that is Afghanistan. If you can see here, the facts. Afghanistan is land of jagged mountains, right? Means totally, what we can say, dense and back-to-back in chain. So jagged mountains, vast deserts, and narrow passes like the Hindu Kush mountain ranges. So it's basically running through the center. It creates natural fortresses and the choke points. And these features make it extremely difficult for any foreign army to navigate, supply, and control the territory. So the first thing is the natural fortress, that is basically what? The terrain, the topography, the mountains, as well as the very narrow passages. Alexander the Great, he conquered the parts of Afghanistan, but faced too much of resistance from local tribes, along with the rugged terrain and yes, the guerrilla tactics that the existing Afghani tribes were already expert in. They were already the stalwarts of such techniques. And even his famous army struggled to maintain any kind of supply lines through the mountains. Passes like Khyber Pass allowed local forces to stage ambushes against any kind of superior armies, turning every invasion into a logistical nightmare. See, desert, sand, sandstorm, dust storm, and obviously less availability of water and less availability of food material makes it quite difficult, along with the vertical sun rays, the scorching heat, makes it quite difficult for any army to sustain in any kind of invasion, right? Especially when they are going for invasion, when they are going for attack. But as we say, locals, they are always vocals. So they are, since the birth, since their early life, they are used to such terrain, and hence they have adapted the nature. So hence, it's quite difficult, or let's say next to impossible, to defeat them in their turf. That's Afghanis, right? Obviously, you can also have the understanding Afghanistan, the cricket. Okay, that's the best example here. Next, the history of resistance. Empires versus the tribes. Let's talk from that one particular country that had almost its kingdoms throughout the continents discovered. It's obviously the British. So it's known as the Anglo-Afghan Wars of 19th to 20th century. British tried to invade Afghanistan thrice. And the best of two examples are here. The first Anglo-Afghan War and the second Anglo-Afghan War. The first one, 1839 to 1848, and the second one, 1878 to 1880. The British, they installed a puppet ruler there in the name of Shah Shuja, but Afghan tribes, they resisted fiercely. And the British, they suffered one of history's most humiliating defeats. Nearly, as you can see, 16,000 of strong garrison marching from Kabul to Jalalabad was annihilated during the retreat in the winters. And the very same condition was there into the Second Anglo-Afghan War. Okay, and so the Third Anglo-Afghan War of 1919 as well. Similar outcomes. Afghanistan retained independence while British learned that controlling it required enormous resources with little gain only. What you have there is only opium in the terrain and nothing more except a strategic important location. But yes, that strategically important location is almost next to impossible for all of the kingdoms and the empires of the time to have the absolute control over it. Well, the next example is of Soviet Union, the erstwhile USSR, modern day Russia. So the USSR invaded Afghanistan to support a communist government expecting a quick victory. See the expectation. What was the expectation? A quick victory. But what happened? The world saw the Russo-Afghan War for the next 1 decade, specifically from 1979 to 1989. So as you can see, the Afghan Mujahideen fighters, they're supported by US, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia, used what? Once again, the guerrilla tactics, the ambitious, and the knowledge of terrain to make Soviet occupation quite costly. And the decade-long war drained the USSR economically, first of all, as well as by their defense, contributing to its eventual collapse in the year 1980. So as you can see, in 1990. As you can see, it started in the year 1979. After a decade-long of battle and war of 1989, right, when the battle finally ended, within just 1 year, 1990, the Soviet Union collapsed as well. So it's type of the curse as well. And finally, finally, the United States of America. US-led war and Taliban resurgence, 2001 to 2021, 20 years, 2 long decades. After 9/11, America wanted to take absolute avenge and revenge against the so-called Taliban as well as Al-Qaeda. And so America knew this thing quite well, that if they just destroy Afghanistan, they will be, best in the world with regard to the revenge. And so there was the mistake. America entered Afghanistan in the year 2001. So as you can see, after 9/11, the US invaded to dismantle Al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban. Despite the superior technology and firepower, the US struggled with. First thing, as you can see, Taliban using mountains, tunnels, and the tribal networks to evade any kind of capture. And second, the local resistance, the tribal loyalties, and corruption undermining governance. So this all led to a huge struggle of American defense forces to establish control in Afghanistan. And finally, it was year 2021. If I'm not wrong with the date, it was around 5th or 6th of August or 7th of August 2021. That is basically, it was first week of August 2021 when finally US said that I'm sorry, I'm returning back to my soil. Afghanistan, it's over to you, dear Taliban. Right? So in August 2021, the Taliban returned to power, showing once again that foreign armies could not establish any long-term control. As per the US reports itself, around some $1 billion, some 1,000 soldiers, and many resources and sources were wasted in 2 decades of American invasion in Afghanistan. In fact, they were humiliated a lot. If you ever feel useless, don't ever feel useless. Just remember, it took America 2 decades, some billions of dollars, some thousands of soldiers, and some great level of sources and resources to replace Taliban with Taliban, right? And hence the name here, the graveyard of empires, right? So this what happened, how America couldn't sustain itself within the soil of Afghanistan. Exactly the problems. Okay, and now let's discuss the major components, the society and politics. The decentralized power, basically. As you can see, Afghanistan's population is tribal, specifically divided between the communities like Pashtuns, Tajiks, Uzbeks, and Hazaras. And loyalty for them is often local, okay, that is with the tribes themselves and not exactly national. So whenever anyone tries to impose a centralized authority, it fails. So empires fail when they try to impose any type of centralized authority. The tribes and local militias adapt quickly, they resist any kind of occupation, and they use asymmetric warfare. They're always with new type of a thing in every conditions, right? And hence it becomes very kind of unstable, like type of a electronica, never stable, no stabilizer, and no proper understanding as well. Hence empires fail to sustain. And now comes in the next or the last nail into the coffin, that is external interference, or let's say influence as well, the proxy battlegrounds. The foreign powers often supported the local factions to advance their own strategic goals, like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, okay, and America. They supported Afghanistan during the time period of Russo-Afghan War. We, India, we support Afghanistan because we know it very well, because it will be one of our best strategic locations when it comes to fight against Pakistan as well as China. It is important to understand that the geographical location of Afghanistan works also as the gateway to Middle East, right? So it has always gained international support. So countries like US, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia, they funded the mujahids of Taliban during the Soviet war. And finally, competing interventions by Britain, USSR, US, and other regional powers turned Afghanistan into a geopolitical chessboard, making it quite difficult to control internally, as multiple power centers are always present there. And hence this multiple power centers, they do create some huge level of tremors, and these tremors, they always provide cracks into the internal authorities or the internal functioning of those particular countries. Hence, as a result, malfunctioning into the governance that leads ultimately to malfunctioning or destabilization of economy. Hence, as a result, the countries, they often tend to just discard themselves from the soil of Afghanistan. As simple as that, right? And now, the most important thing, the key incidences that cemented the name, the graveyard of empires. So the first ever graveyard, it was with regard to the first the first Anglo-Afghan war, when 16,000 British soldiers, they were compelled to retreat out of Afghanistan. And this was a big humiliation to Britain. You know, the 19th century Britain, the country which was termed as the sun never sets in the British Empire, and their soldiers, they had to run away in order to save their life. So it was a big humiliation. Second, obviously, when Soviet Union failed. And finally, when US withdrew its forces in August 2021. So the modern day confirmation, it was when the US, with $30 trillion of economy, with world's most advanced country tag, had to run out from the soil of Afghanistan. So Britain, Russia, America, the top three powers of the globe, they have got decimated in Afghanistan. So obviously, it's now the name graveyard of empires. But remember, it's not just because of its geography. It's also because of multiple reasons, like strong tribal society. They are quite united. They don't let any foreign power to rule over them. External interference and the proxy wars being the chessboard of the globe. And finally, the resilient and local resistance. Okay, so these are the things that creates Afghanistan as what? As the graveyard of empires. So guys, please remember, Afghanistan earned this title not merely because of its terrain, but due to obviously the challenging geography, the tribal community, Tajiks, Hazras, and the Pashtuns there, those who hate any foreign entity to rule over them, and obviously the international influence on the soil. This makes it quite difficult for any empire to sustain there, and hence the name, the graveyard of empires. So guys, this is it with regard to this topic. Okay, and please remember that our resolution plus batches, they are about to commence from 24th of September, and you need to enroll at the earliest possible time. If you are a serious UPSC aspirant targeting the examination year of 2027 or even 2028, so remember, our StudyIQ Resolution Plus batches would be live from 24th of September. Okay, where you will be given with 1000 plus hours of live lectures, access to recorded lectures as well, 18 sets of printed books sent to you at your doorstep, teachers' personal class notes shared with you at the end of the session in PDF format, at every session, okay, in PDF format. Then 1:1 mentorship program, 75 plus tests for your prelims, 15 plus tests for your mains, and multiple mock interviews for your personality test as well. That is basically the prelims test series, the mains test series, the interview guidance program, everything under one single subscription, including your prelims residential program as well as your mains residential program. Right, everyone? So quickly enroll yourself with the Resolution Plus batches in Hindi medium, in English medium as well. Okay, so what you need with yourself is just one promo code, that's PRV Live. So guys, quickly enroll using this promo code, and whatever the subscription amount would be, it would reduce down, okay, to much more of the discount, okay, the moment you have applied this promo code, that is PRV Live. Okay, everyone, so quickly enroll, as the batches, they are commencing from 24th of September. And this is it with regard to this session, guys. Thank you so much for watching. In case you wish to connect with me, so here is the QR code of my Telegram channel that is named as Praveen_StudyIQ. Okay, and yes, you can also connect with me on my Instagram, that is Praveen Mishra_2107. And very soon we shall be coming with our next episode of this series, that is StudyIQ Global, that is termed as Why Is There a Conflict Between Saudi Arabia and Iran? Okay, guys, so stay tuned and hit the subscribe button of the channel StudyIQ IAS English so that you never miss an update from the channel and you watch every single video, every single session, okay, because it is made just with one agenda to provide you all the quality and quantity of the content. So guys, hit the subscribe button and never miss an update. Thank you so much for watching. Good day, take care, keep studying well. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.